Hello, babes. Welcome to Coffee and Tequila, the morning show on Mondays, late show on Fridays. My name is Zach.
My name is Alastair.
Patton Garcia, because we're married.
We are married.
We're lovers. We're gay.
5 years
You
strong,
can't
guys.
break us apart. We have a lot of new people that have been coming in, subscribing, watching the videos, listening to the podcast. Our numbers have jumped a little bit.
Our sex quizzes have been doing
That's
pretty
what's
good.
been doing it. It's
Yeah.
the sex quiz, the gay sex quiz. Those are like the. I just have to say, I apologize for anybody who came for the quizzes and for the sexual stories.
I do not
be what this
apologize.
that podcast is not this.
This is not what the podcast is about, but that doesn't mean that we won't circle back to it.
Yeah, maybe one day.
So,
we're
continue
gonna-
to be subscribed.
Exactly.
Maybe it'll happen.
You'll hear all about our the time we did it in a movie theater. Yeah, Alanis Morissette. Who? Yeah, just for everybody new here, if you're listening on podcast, Apple, or Spotify, the best way to help us out is to leave us a 5-star rating. If you're listening on or watching on YouTube, leave us a like, drop a comment down below. That really helps us out.
Subscribe, share.
Yeah, all of that.
And so I'm out of coffee.
Baby, the illusion. We do coffee on Monday mornings.
So I put some rosé with ice.
I couldn't tell if this was like an apple juice, like a water. We're doing
It's rosé.
rosé in the morning, Lord Jesus.
It's that kind of way, guys.
I guess so. This episode is kindly being sponsored by Helix Sleep. As always, we'll let you know a little bit more about them a little bit later. But first, we don't really have hot topics today. We just have one. And we've been, there's a bunch going on in the world. We can always find something. But we've been pretty busy moving, we have been, past couple weekends, moving things out of the storage unit. We've been moving things in my truck, in your car.
Yeah, don't be surprised if our set looks completely different the next time we actually.
I don't know if it's going to be the next time. Maybe the next time.
No, it's
the
gonna be the
set's
next
going to
time.
be changing very, very soon. So I'm super excited about that.
It'll probably change over time, but it's definitely not going to be the set.
I know. I'm going to build something for it, and we're going to have like a whole. Like we have things we're excited to display and all that, but like details, whatever. We're excited to be here today. What's been happening in the news? The only thing on the hot topic list we got is the Queen died, which is
yes.
a pretty big deal, I guess.
She passed away, and so I get most of my news from BBC News because they'll give me the alerts and stuff, but they've been pretty useless, I would say, since the Queen passed away, because it's all like, Prince Charles showed up for this.
Yeah. It's
Camilla
been like
this.
12 days of mourning, isn't it?
A lot of places are shutting down for mourning, all that stuff. Unfortunately, we're not shutting down for
Her
mourning.
body is on a damn tour. So this is really like it's kind of a big deal, right? Because she is the first monarch that was the British monarchy, monarch that we have been alive for, right? Because she's been on the throne for however long.
And she's the
Long,
longest
long
reigning British monarch, too.
Second, I think.
She's the second longest reigning monarch. She's the first longest reigning British monarch.
Again, I don't have the details on that.
I do have the details
I
of that,
believe you.
so.
I believe you. I'll go with it. It's been really interesting seeing how they kind of do everything. I did not realize they were going to be moving that body like 20 different places. It's gone from Balmoral to the Buckingham Palace. I'm surprised she has not had Christmas dinner at Sandringham. It's just it's on a tour. It truly is on a tour. If you died, would you want your body to go on a tour?
No.
Do you want me? You don't want me to do that for you?
No.
He's got a whole list of things. He's like if I die. Got a list.
I'm very particular. I want candles. Well, everybody holds candles, kind of like in oh gosh, I forget that movie. But everybody's gonna hold candles. Everybody's gonna take tequila shots unless you don't, drink. And then you'll take a shot of like something else.
And for the Queen's funeral, like we don't really see everybody crying. Like her family, they're like they're keeping it very stoned face, very
well, it's
stoic.
very political.
Yeah,
especially
on his list.
especially
He's
at this point.
demanding everybody bawl their eyes out, that they have to cry. That is one.
Yeah,
that
if
is
you're
like
not
that,
crying, leave my funeral.
That is what he says. The big bolded highlighted point is that everybody has to cry. Me, I'm like,
You can
whatever's
laugh later.
easiest for you. If we're poor, you just get rid of my body. Just give it to the government. Refuse to claim it. Okay, somebody will come get it.
No. I've already told you that I want to do kind of like a psycho thing.
Yeah.
Where I keep you in the bed.
That's okay. We can do that. I feel like with death, you just, I'm dead already, right? So like do whatever is easiest for you or whatever helps you mourn the best. Whatever you think is going to like help you get through it, you know?
Yes, but you haven't talked about if we're incredibly wealthy, what would we do?
Crips.
No.
Yeah.
Zachary,
I want a mausoleum.
we've already talked about this. We are doing the Disney thing, and we're getting cryo frozen. We're going to cryo freeze our bodies.
I don't know if I want that.
We are.
I don't
I'm
know if
sorry.
I want to wake up again
I'm sorry.
in 70 years.
It's not your decision.
200 years, I'm not sure I want to wake up.
You're going to wake up
this
with
world
me
again.
So you're going to wake up with me.
We're just going to be bodiless, though.
We're probably going to be like in a spaceship somewhere.
It's going to be like Futurama, is what I'm picturing. Right?
Maybe it'll just be like heads and tanks.
This is terrible. It's going to be like Mars Attacks. With
you know what I'm actually assuming is that we could like maybe download ourselves into like maybe genetically copied bodies.
Download.
You know?
Yeah, but this whole it's been interesting seeing how the whole thing, because I've seen videos before on like YouTube on how the Queen dies and what's going to happen when the Queen dies, and but it's been really interesting seeing everything kind of play out. And it's like usually we have our dead buried pretty quickly, but we're also like peasants, I guess. And hers is really like drawn out. Do you know that?
Not always true though, because like you also have to keep in mind that especially for big families, a lot of times people are on ice for a while you get the funeral and everything together in order for like the entire family to show up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been wild. That's really like, I follow the Daily Mail, which is not the greatest news source, but it is the news source, and I get a lot of information from there. I get a lot of headlines from there, and I pick those headlines and I'll go like cross check. But they've been covering the funeral for a while and all of the processions and everything, and it's you cannot scroll 2 feet or 2 scrolls without finding an article about Harry and Meghan and why they're mad and they're stomping their feet and they're angry.
I just saw that Harry and Meghan were disinvited from the reception.
It's so stupid.
Did you see that?
There's like no wonder she did not want to fucking stay there, because like there's not a single headline that is not like, oh, Meghan smirking while Kate is. You know what I found most interesting? Like one of the pieces of info I found out about like all the royal stuff. The reason there's like 8 pallbearers is because it's a lead lined coffin, and that coffin apparently weighs like a ton.
Is there any like significance for the 8 number?
Because they want for 8, because they can just hold the lead lined coffin because it's a heavy
then
coffin.
Why not 10?
Because I guess they could. I don't know. It's 8 though. They do 8. It's because they want the bodies of the royals to last a very long time, and I think it can last like, I don't know, like up to a year or so, maybe even more, in the lead-lined coffin. And she's going to be, I always figured that she was going to have some sort of like big statue above her grave or something like that, and like her grave was going to be like a public thing. I didn't realize like she's going to go be entered into like a private like crypt in a memorial church or something like that. And that's, I thought that was really interesting. And she's just gonna, her coffin's just gonna be there, and there's gonna be like a little gate in front of it. She's gonna be like next to all of the coffins, and Prince Philip, his body is gonna be moved to be next to hers.
It's always weird knowing like where you're gonna like be interred, right? So you have family members, especially that like buy like crypts, or they like buy like plots of like burial areas.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always weird to think about that, especially like, okay, so like, let's say we're a couple. I mean, we are a couple, and I die.
Yeah.
And then you, for some reason, betray me and get married to somebody else. Who do you get buried with?
Who do I get paired with? Oh, buried with.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle.
No, no. We already talked about
Who's my
this.
husband though? Is it like Tom Hardy, or is it, it's a Joe Schmo?
Like I already told you, I don't care if you have a boyfriend after I die. You are not getting married.
This is
going
to sound really dark, but if you die, baby, I'm done. I'm gone. I'm throwing myself over the Titanic.
Don't say that, because that sounds problematic.
It might be problematic, but that's how I feel. I'm done. Maybe I'll go on like one real nice vacation with your life insurance.
My life insurance.
Like $100,000 vacation or something like that, and then I end up on a yacht, like a real rich one, and I throw myself off of it, and I wear like
we've actually talked
Titanic
about this a lot.
It's really messed up.
A little too much. We've talked about the fact that if one of us die,
yeah,
we have life insurance, and then we'll like split it if the other one dies amongst both of our families.
Oh well, yeah. I don't know if we need to go into the life insurance thing. We might have people trying to kill us now.
Yeah,
I don't trust Jennifer Garcia. I don't trust Aaron Garcia.
You don't trust your family?
I don't trust Bailey Garcia. I don't trust Key.
I don't trust Key. But she's not on our life insurance.
No.
So.
I don't know. This whole thing has been really interesting to see how it's all playing out. And I guess so, like, I guess Charles is gonna be king officially. I think a lot of
He is
people
king.
I always thought as an American that they would kind of like overstep him and just go to
I
William.
thought they were gonna skip him.
They should have, honestly.
I thought they
feel
were
like
gonna skip
it's the
him.
new age. It's time.
For those of you out there who've seen
Don't. No.
who've seen The Prince, it is such an excellent but really
It's
bad
terrible.
show.
It's a terrible show. It's not a good show.
If
It did not. Get
if
renewed,
you're
by
very
the way.
offended by like South Park / Family Guy humor, don't watch it.
It's very much that.
But
It's got some good moments, and
if you do like that, then I would say definitely check it out.
I don't even know
I
if
think
it-
it's
is it
I
on
think
there
it's had
still?
I think it's had a resurgence. Honestly. I think it's had a resurgence.
Oh my gosh, I could not scroll
Yeah.
TikTok without seeing anything about like the royal family. People giving me all these stories. I already know how Diana died. They're like, did you know that Prince Charles was once married to Diana, Princess of Wales, and he cheated on her with Camilla, and they got divorced? I'm like, yes,
We all knew
Gen
that.
Zer. Yes.
Yeah, Gen Zer.
16-year-old telling me about the royals. I know this. But also, if you scroll like one more, you'll see a clip from what is it? The Young Prince or just the Prince?
No, I think it's just called The Prince.
Yeah, you'll see a clip from that. There's a bunch of them, and it's mostly like Queen Elizabeth getting mad at Camilla.
And there's only one season. Even the first time we watched it, we watched it and we were like, I
It's
don't think
terrible.
we're gonna
I'm like,
tell people we watched this.
No, it's
because
problematic.
it's so not good.
It's shitty.
But
It's real mean. It's mean spirited kind of, but it's just you just laugh at what you laugh at, I guess.
Yes.
So when we
I want a
come
season
back, speaking of royals, when we come back, we're gonna talk about the Woman King, and it's a hot button topic, so everybody's talking about it right now. And yeah, we will see you in a second. It's time to talk about Helix Sleep.
My favorite part of the episode.
I love Helix Sleep. I love sleeping on our Helix Sleep mattresses. That's going to be like the last thing that we move from this apartment.
Yes.
The king size.
But
we moved the queen size already.
Luckily, we're in between places right now,
Mm-hmm.
so we have a Helix mattress in our new place and a Helix mattress right here.
We're kind of like
so we're covered on
enjoying-
both
We're
sides.
acting like we have like a vacation apartment that's like 20 minutes away from our house now. Helix is a premium mattress and a box company that makes beds to fit your unique sleep style. Helix knows that everybody is different and everybody has their own unique needs, and so they've made a sleep quiz that'll match you with your perfect mattress based on your needs. I am an all-over sleeper. Alastair is more of a side sleeper. He likes a firm mattress. I like, more medium. We took the quiz together and we got the Midnight Mattress. And one of the best parts about Helix is that they deliver the mattress right to your door for free. It comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up yourself. And if it makes you nervous to buy something online that you haven't tried, Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you absolutely love it. And if you don't, they'll pick it up for you and you'll get a full refund. Well, if you or somebody who knows in the market for a new mattress and you think that Helix sounds right for you, you can go to helixsleep.com/tequila where you can get up to $200 off of your mattress.
and 2 free pillows.
Ooh, you know what? I had to do like a Helix spot for Instagram. I agreed to work with them on Instagram recently. And once I posted those stories, I got like a bunch of messages about because I think mine said, take the quiz and you can get up to $200 off, and everybody was responding. And 2 free pillows. Don't forget Alastair's 2 free pillows.
I know.
That's
I actually
your
said
legacy.
it.
But
There is a clip of me saying, and 2 free pillows, but you did not include it.
I'm so sorry, baby.
I know. That's my thing. That's
I'm
what people know
sorry.
me
I
for.
know.
2 free pillows.
It's going to be on your
So,
tombstone. And we are back, guys. We actually is it raining?
It is raining.
I hear it. Oh, goodness. We would love to be outside right now because it never rains in El Paso. Okay, we are back to talk about The Woman King. We actually just went and watched this, the Alamo Draft House by our house, and it was, I don't know, what did you think of the movie? Like right before this.
So before this, one, I just really wanted to see Viola Davis
Yes.
dominate my screen. And we talked about this I'm not sure if we talked about this on Coffee Tequila, but we talked about this at some point where we wanted a Viola Davis like mega movie. And I feel like
a big mega movie. 'Cause
Yes.
she gets a lot of roles. She does get a lot of roles. She's not struggling for work, but we have this like trend of seeing Viola Davis in. I don't know. They a lot of times we have her in these roles where she has to do like the Viola Davis wail, where she like is crying real loud and doing the like Viola Davis like number, which is fantastic by the way. It's like what big thing she's known for. But I've always wanted to see her in something like this, right? Like this is we love a badass woman kicking ass movie, don't we?
it was an action movie.
Yes.
And I think that she really
That's what was
delivered.
so special about it, right? Is that she really was. When I say, I don't mean to bandwagon hop, and like sometimes the bandwagon is the right place to be. Viola Davis was phenomenal in this movie. She clearly trained her ass off for this role. Studied all of the fight choreography. It had some stellar fight choreography.
She was a beast in this movie.
Yes.
She looked so good. And like, so before going in, I thought I was going to like it, but I loved it.
I truly did not know much about it.
So I wanted to go in not knowing much about it. And let me tell you that Lashana Lynch, just looked up her name,
Which
for me was like the big standout besides Viola Davis. She was the trainer.
Okay.
Remember?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I loved her so much, and I really want to see her more stuff.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it had a really great cast. It was real well acted. John Boyega was in it, which I was surprised at again. Again, I like didn't.
Did you even turn to me? You're like, "Is that John Boyega?"
I was a little
Yes,
blind
that's
in
him.
the theater. I was like- but it was a really, really good movie. I didn't really know much about it going into it, so I didn't really know what it was about. I remember we watched the trailer maybe like a night ago. You showed me the trailer, and so we went into it. And I kind of went into it.
I really want to watch it.
Yeah, I kind of went into it. But we were going to watch it the other day. I was like 2.5 hours. Oh man, that's the 2.5 hour movies have been hitting me hard lately. It's been
Well, it's
this one didn't feel like it though. It went.
It was paced well. Made $19 million on the first day, so far it's a success.
Did it? Is that domestic or worldwide?
Domestic,
Okay.
and it's at 94% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Which
is
I
also
never
really
like
good.
go on Rotten Tomato scores anyway. It isn't. They just don't really do a whole lot for me. The movie basically.
Sometimes they do.
The movie's called The Woman King. It's about is it a Goji? Oh, I'm gonna butcher these names. It's a Goji, right? The Agoji, it's like an all female warrior led
Agoji.
like military for the kingdom of Dahomey.
Yes,
Is it Dahomey? Dahomey.
Dahomey, I think.
Yes. And it's just like a badass woman kicking ass movie, which we love. We are fans of both of the Vampire Slayer. We're fans of Underworld. Anything where we get like a female kicking ass. It's always much more aesthetically pleasing than
Then a man.
than John Wick.
Okay. Okay, let's step back a
Hey,
little bit.
misogynist, calm
Anyways,
down.
I think 2022, I'm going to be honest, has been really good for potential slayers in movies because I've seen it both in Prey, I saw it in The Princess.
We're gonna
I'm seeing
call
it in
anything.
The Woman King.
We're gonna call anything
and
a
they all
slayer.
seem like
Sorry.
it's just women who are kicking ass in action, and I am loving that.
Yeah.
And the Agoge also
Agoge.
Agoge
Okay.
also inspired the
Yeah.
Dora Milaje.
The Black Panther. The
Yes.
female army in Black Panther.
Because they were the King's Guard, but the Agoge were also the King's Guard.
Yeah.
And so like that for me was very interesting. And like I was looking at a Times article about it by Laura Zornasa, and she was saying that Black Panther in a lot of ways kind of paved the way for this movie.
Yeah.
The cinematography really stood out, and I loved how they filmed it. I thought that everybody looked good.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you can tell when filmmakers honestly don't know how to film, especially black people. And the filmography was amazing.
I'll have to imagine
the
this
sets
was
stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't this was a black-led movie, right? Like behind the camera and in front of the camera, wasn't it? It had to have been.
I don't know about behind the camera because I haven't
we should have
looked
done
behind the camera.
We should have done the research. I'm going to assume in front of the camera or behind the camera as well. But usually when we, in Hollywood, you get a lot of like stereotypical like Africans in huts movies, you know, like that's a big standard in Hollywood. And it was really nice to see like a full kingdom, you know, and like showing this kingdom with this really wonderful set, these really wonderful sets. I also saw I saw a really interesting Twitter thread that I'll have to link it, honestly. It was really, really good. Basically talking about how we sometimes will like just lump all of Africa together, especially like historical Africa, all together, rather than like realizing Africa is a really big continent, and that had many different states, and the many different states were doing many different things, right? Like some were involved in slave trade, some were like, you know, some weren't involved in slave trade. That's also a really big argument when people like bring up that Africans were selling Africans. Well, you know, Africa wasn't like a monolith, you know, it had different kingdoms.
Well,
you know?
I was even thinking about today. I was like, okay, so like my historical knowledge, I feel like I know a lot about most continents, and I think the two continents I don't know much about historically are Australia and Africa.
I would agree. I mean, there's plenty I don't know about. I am going through a renaissance of learning right now. And this movie, like, I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't know anything about the historical significance of this movie, historical accuracy of this movie. I didn't know anything, right?
And that's why this movie is important, right?
Well, it's opening up more conversation about that. More people are like looking this up than they ever have before, right? Like, I guarantee you. So there's a lot of criticism right now for this movie, right? A lot of people, like, I knew as soon as just seeing the name on paper without ever looking at an image. If you just see the name on paper, the Woman King, I knew people were going to come in with this is just woke bullshit, you know? This is just wokeness. Then you see images and you realize it's Viola Davis, you know, this black woman king. And it's like, oh, this is just more woke bullshit. Yeah, that's just what this movie is. Knew all of that was coming. Watched the movie. Went and saw what people were saying about the movie. And that's what people were saying about the movie. Basically, saying that it's woke bullshit, and a big criticism for this movie has been the historical inaccuracy of the movie, right?
So, yes. So, I actually looked that up as soon as you brought that up to me. And so, Leonard Wanchekon is a professor of politics at the international affairs at Princeton University. And he was their historian for the movie. And I think that, so I did see the criticisms about it, like, not being historically accurate, about, like, the tribe going back and doing trading slaves again. And I don't think that the movie really shies away from that.
Well, so the movie does what I was seeing was that the way people were talking about it seemed like they just completely like flipped script and said that, oh, the Dahomey never sold slaves. They never traded slaves. They always wanted, to free slaves, and like they were very against like slave traders. But the movie didn't say that. The movie like very much acknowledged that yes, they did trade slaves at some point. It wasn't to the extent that was probably the most historically accurate, right? So the Dahomey was
they stopped at a point in history where that was
they
accurate.
Took liberties. Listen, they took liberties in this movie, just like all Hollywood movies do. So a couple of things, right? Like the Dahomey was a kingdom in Africa. They were conquering other states at times. They were involved in slave trading. They're like big enemies. They apparently had 2 wars with France. The Franco-Dahomean War 1 and 2.
Really?
In the sequel. Yeah, so like France was their big thing. And I think France actually ended up colonizing the Dahomey kingdom. So
Yeah, I know in the movie it was Portugal.
They just kept.
That was
it Portugal? I just kept hearing them say
Portuguese.
European. I just kept hearing European. Okay.
Honestly, I think the movie is about this tribal women.
Yeah.
It's about like bringing historical attention to this tribal women who are women warriors, which is a rare thing to have.
Yeah.
And I loved it, honestly. I really loved it. The only slight criticism that I have for the movie, and I really, really loved it. 94% is a perfect number, because at 6% was that I wanted kind of a lesbian romance.
So they had a romance in it, and I didn't care about it. I just didn't care about the romance at all.
Well, it's how you do it, right?
It was weirdly placed in there. It was like as soon as these characters lock eyes, we know that's going to be the romance of the movie, and it's like, I don't care about that, right? I care more about like their training, and like the training stuff was phenomenal to me. This like competition that they have.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal. Like I wanted all of that.
It's just they used to call them Amazon warriors in Europe. Like that's how they knew them as like the Amazons, and partially for that they would be cut off from men. You know, men weren't allowed to look at them, and they weren't allowed to take husbands. They weren't allowed to bear children or anything like that. And for me,
I don't think that was all of them either, though. I was reading that like that wasn't all. So
what?
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about the movie. So for me in the movie, I feel like that was a really good place to have a lesbian romance, and I really wanted a lesbian romance.
I just didn't care about a romance. Period. I don't think in this one I didn't need it. But
it's a representation. Like you can't tell me that you had an entire warrior woman culture and there was no lesbian romance.
I have no idea. We saw the movie like an hour ago. I have not had time to do the deepest of dives into this information, so please take everything I say with a grain of salt. And it's up to us to do our own research, right? And so I'm like very interested in finding out the rest of the story on this. But so there's a lot of people criticizing the movie for the historical inaccuracies. They're like really going in on this movie because of that. However, I feel like that's just the internet. That's just the internet, right? That's just the internet like kind of attacking this movie when real life. And like the internet is like a section of real life, but real life, our theater was packed. People were excited during this movie. I could hear like claps coming from the back, claps coming from the front. People were like talking through it, and they were like reacting to it. That's a really good movie when you have people reacting during the movie.
And they clapped afterwards. I bet you there were several book clubs that showed up.
I think so. There was like a group.
That was the vibe I was getting.
There was a gaggle of older ladies that were in front of us walking out of the movie. They went straight to the bar, by the way, when we went to the front door. And they were chatting all about the movie, and they loved it, you know, and this was a packed theater. And not only this showing, we've looked at other showings to figure out which showing to go to. They're all packed. So
I said $19 million in the first day.
Well, yes. So sometimes when you see like the bullshit on the internet and you see the people complaining about woke or this, that, and the whole discourse going back and forth on the internet, like maybe check it out. Maybe look at what people are saying, but like don't like again take it with a grain of salt because people are loving this. People are loving the movie, and I'm sure a lot of people who have these criticisms did not look up. They did not know much about a larger majority. Not everybody, did not know much about African history before they saw the big poster for The Woman King starring Viola Davis, right? They did not care to look into it until they saw that, and then they needed something to attack.
I think people want something to bitch at, honestly.
Oh, always,
people want something to bitch at. Because you know what? When the Gladiator came out in 2000, people weren't bitching about it. What?
Nothing, I'm just joking.
Like, people weren't bitching about it. People loved it. It wasn't historically accurate.
Yeah.
You know, and like...
But when did the Gladiator came out? Do you know what year that was? Okay, so we didn't have Twitter back then. I guarantee if we had Twitter, they were going to be bitching about that movie too, right? It's just like the internet sometimes like rots your brain. It just rots your brain. Sometimes we can just go and enjoy things, and this is like a movie to be enjoyed. It is so good, and it gets you interested and going and learning the real story.
Yeah, you're like, I want to know more about this.
Yeah.
Let me do some research.
Exactly. Yes. It's a story that's condemning slavery. It's condemning the slave trade, whether that was entirely historically accurate or not. It's a movie about heart and fight and togetherness, right? And supporting your fellow warriors and your fellow human being. It's just a fucking good movie. Go and enjoy it. It is well worth the watch. And also, let's talk about some other movies that are very historically inaccurate, because that's just the thing that happens with Hollywood, right? Is like Hollywood does not churn out the most historically accurate movies. In fact, Hollywood pretty much with all of their historical dramas, epics, all of them, pretty much like fudges shit, right? Like that's just what happens. So with I'd like to point out Anastasia #1. Anastasia this is just a chance for us to talk about more movies, by the way. Anastasia is one of my favorite movies. It is like so close to my heart. I love this movie. Try to get him to watch it any chance I get, right?
I've probably seen it 5 times since we've been married.
I love it. And Sage loves it too. And you know what? She listens to the soundtrack with me. Anastasia,
it's a good soundtrack.
Anastasia is a phenomenal movie. It is also a really fucked up movie, and like terrible when you really think about it. Anastasia, this in the movie, she's like 8. The beginning of the movie, she starts out and she's like a child, right? When Rasputin comes in, and Rasputin is this magical being who takes down the Romanov family, and he really influences everybody to take them down. And they're Anastasia almost gets away with her grandmother. They're supposed to go to Paris, and she falls off a train, loses her memory, and then we pick up with her like when she's an adult, and she finds out that she is actually Anastasia. Like that's her whole journey in the movie. She
And then
died.
you have the whole Rasputin thing.
Yeah, they just
And
make
then,
him
like,
the Disney villain, right?
And then
Like
you wouldn't think that Meg Ryan would sing so well, but she did amazingly.
we already know this, by the way. This is another one of Alastair's conspiracy theories. Meg Ryan did not sing the
Zachary,
songs.
I literally just looked it up, and she's casted as
Are you being
Anastasia.
serious? Okay.
And Anastasia sung the songs. So Meg Ryan did it.
Okay. Alrighty. Anyway, the real Anastasia died when she was like 17 years old with the rest of her family in a basement. Soldiers put them down in the basement, shot them, and then like did really horrible things with all of their bodies. They buried them once in a mine shaft, or like dumped their bodies once in a mine shaft. Went back and got them, buried them in some forest.
Graves, yeah.
Buried separately. Like I think 2 of them were buried off over here. One of the rest of them were buried off over here, and like just terrible story, right?
And babe, before you get on your Anastasia train, I want to let you know that we can have an Anastasia episode, okay? So you don't have to.
we are.
You don't have to say
We
it all right
are.
now. You do not have to say it all right
I
now.
won't bore you all with the details right now, but we are going to do a long ass episode, probably a 2-parter on Anna Anderson, the most famous Anastasia imposter. That is
Allegedly. Allegedly.
That is a story. But Anastasia is a beloved movie. People love that movie, you know, and it's not accurate at all.
It's like a Disney movie
There's
without
nothing accurate
I think it's a
about it.
Disney movie now, isn't it?
It is now a Disney
It's
movie
been
because it was
purchased
bought
by Disney.
yes,
Yeah.
Anastasia is now a Disney
Ooh.
princess, which is also really messed up when you think about it.
But I haven't seen her being recognized as a Disney princess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, they always do stuff like that. Apocalypto is another one of my favorite
yeah.
movies, made by Mel Gibson, but neither here nor there. Apocalypto though is chronologically inaccurate. Like if you watch it and you know anything about like Mayan history, it just is wild to watch it because of just the events that are happening. You know, because none of those events were together. They were all very very spread out, and it just.
Like it's like the dress, how they're acting, all that stuff together. Though I do appreciate that it is in a different language.
Yeah.
That's the one
there's
thing I
many
really
things to
appreciate about it,
That's
yeah.
why I like it so much, right? Like it is a well-made movie. It is
Yeah.
a well-made movie. It's just not historically accurate. Pocahontas, another big one, animated big one, the actual Disney princess. Let's go through some of that stuff. Pocahontas was a child. She was.
I think the only thing that we should ever take away from Pocahontas is what is it? Color of the Wind? No, is it?
There's lots to take away from Pocahontas. There's lots of messages in Pocahontas that are really like wonderful to have. Pocahontas is another
that one
beloved
song,
movie. Like we love that movie. It's a great movie. It's not historically accurate. There's not hardly anything about it that's historically accurate. John Smith was
Definitely
like,
frames the white people as the good guys, right?
I wouldn't say
Wait,
that.
nah,
I would
yeah, you're
say
right,
like
you're right, you're
they
right.
have the good guys
Yes.
within the white guys, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
John Smith is supposed to be a good guy,
Oh,
but he was like close
it's
to
an
30.
onion.
Pocahontas was like a child. They didn't have a romance. There wasn't some grand romance between the two, like we're meant to believe. And she died at like 21 years old, right? Like she
Well, she was
probably
paraded around Europe.
She probably caught some white man disease like smallpox or something like that, and she died. She was paraded around England. You know, she was which is also Pocahontas 2, Journey to a New World.
Which we've both seen.
I also really like that one too. Which is horrible. It's terrible. When I was a kid, actually, I used to come home from school or from pre-K or wherever I was going at the time, and my parents always had like a Disney VHS ready for me. It just happened like in my memory. It's like every day it happened, but I doubt it. I don't think so. I don't think it was that often, but I would just come home and it would be sitting on top of the VCR, like brand new, and it's a VHS case. I remember Pocahontas 2 being one of the ones I was most excited for, right? That and The Little Mermaid. And I know I went with my mom to get The Little Mermaid, actually. We're not going into it. One of my fondest childhood memories. Just getting the movies, you know. Sometimes my parents were really good about that. is they would buy me certain movies and like hide them in places, like just movies that they knew I loved. Right? This is real bragging on my parents, by the way. This is I do a lot of bitching about my parents, but they had their really great moments, and one of them was I remember I came from school one time, and like I opened like somebody asked me to go get a knife or something like that, like a butter knife, and I opened the silverware drawer, and the Grudge 2 DVD was in there, and it was just like I just loved that shit. It was always like hidden stuff. Speaking of parentage, my mother sending me all of the people bitching about the Handmaids and the Handmaid's Tale group. Okay, back on track. Back on track. Sorry, she's sending me drama. Yeah, I don't know. Really good memories with my parents. Another one, Braveheart, is listed. It's like people love Braveheart. You love Braveheart.
I do love Braveheart,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, a lot of these movies, a lot of these like historical war movies, are like the war movies that I kind of like bonded with my dad about.
Yeah.
Because like we'd watch these together, and they're like really good, really epic. And Braveheart, yes, I know it's not historically accurate. However, it's men in kilts, so like
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. I wasn't a big Braveheart fan. I remember watching it. I remember it used to come on TV a lot. And I used to watch it on the TV. And I just was never, it was, if you heard a toot, we got a dog down here, okay? French bulldogs, they got a flat face, they do that. It was neither of us. Braveheart, I mean, it's people love that movie, you know? Like, white men are never going to give up Braveheart. They will never give up Braveheart.
Well, have you seen the stuff where like people like do like in-depth dives to Braveheart,
Yeah.
where you like see like modern stuff, like somebody's like wearing like tennis shoes and stuff like that?
Braveheart created a formula, like a war movie formula, like a warrior formula. Like people follow the Braveheart formula still. Arguably, this could also be a Braveheart. You know, the Woman King could be a Braveheart, but Braveheart is one of the, it's like on a lot of lists also, by the way, of the most historically inaccurate movies of all time.
Yes.
You know, like it is terribly inaccurate. William Wallace was a nobleman when they try to make him like a farmer, right? They try to like really dole down his status already.
They're like, he's a commoner.
He's a commoner, he's poor, you know? There's no bridge in the Battle of Stirling Bridge.
No.
It's in a field. It's just like there's a bunch of stuff, right? There's a bunch of stuff, but like it's still a really beloved movie. And nobody's going to take that away from anybody. Nobody's going to take your joy away from loving Braveheart, even though it's inaccurate. Like, you know, 300. Again, like 300 is just one that's more following a graphic novel anyway than trying to be historically accurate, which is also Braveheart, by the way. Let me go up to my notes. Braveheart
This was from
more
Zack
based.
Snyder, by the way.
Braveheart was based more on a poem. They never claimed to like try to be historically accurate. They always said that they were basing it on a poem about William Wallace. Now back to 300. 300 again also is based on a graphic novel rather than like actually trying to be historically accurate. Which I feel like I'm like slurring accurate.
Well,
Accurate.
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 Well, it's very snack Snyder.
Holy shit, dude! Why did you do this to us? This is supposed to be coffee.
It's very
I'm really
Snyder.
sorry,
So,
guys. This is rosé.
One thing I do love about Zack Snyder is that he does know how to take advantage of the male form.
Yes.
And so, like,
pose
it beautifully.
I bet it was torture for all of them, but like they looked phenomenal. in that
well,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can, like, look up the 300 workout or
And
whatever.
there's a lot of stuff in 300 that's like really accurate too, right? Like they were a civilization, they were a culture that was all about war. They were incredibly about war. Everything they did was about war, right? Burying the strongest children, raising freaking warriors, examining babies when they were born and throwing them off a cliff if they had any abnormalities, any deformities. Women had to be in top shape to bear these wonderful children, which is why they were like always like, I don't know, they've always been considered like incredibly beautiful, right? The women of the Spartans.
There's actually three things that kind of like sets it apart.
Yeah.
So first, Zack Snyder put them all in loincloths. Apparently they would have actually worn armor, but we wanted to see their abs.
Gerard Butler, man.
So that was one thing. Two things. The second thing is, yes, they were a warrior culture, but they were also very homosexual.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of especially older men
So
and
again,
younger men
the
having
homosexuality is
sex.
always that aspect
Yes.
of it is always like removed from it because we're not seeing Gerard
Yes.
Butler fuck anybody up the ass, right? Like we're not, which we should have.
And
Should
they-
have historical accuracy, and I would have fought for
Exactly.
these if I had Twitter at that time. Okay. Also, pretty dark, but they were engaging in like pedophilia. They weren't like attracted to these young children, but as a sort of like child mentor relation, there were sex acts involved with children.
Yes.
And like, of course, they're not going to put that in 300, but that's the accuracy. Why aren't we talking about the accuracy there? Why aren't we complaining about that? Right? It's because we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't need to put that in there, and we can still enjoy the movie without it. They weren't as outnumbered as we're supposed to believe they were. They were still outnumbered, but not as outnumbered. I just thought that was a little morsel of something.
A little bit more.
A little bit more. But we love 300. That's one of my favorite movies again.
We do like
I freaking
300.
love 300. And I love the sequel to 300. I think that is Ava Green is phenomenal in that one.
It was good, actually. Not as good as I expected, but good.
It's okay. It's okay. Marie Antoinette, another one of my favorite movies.
I
We're
knew you were
listing
gonna say
favorite
that.
movies. by the
Sophia
way.
Coppola's.
Yes, Sophia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. It's wonderful, and it's not entirely historically inaccurate. Again, like with movies like this, with movies that take place over a long period of time, oftentimes they just combine events or like squish time periods together, right? So, like for example, when Marie Antoinette has an affair in the movie, it was actually over the course of a long like number of years, right?
Yeah,
but
sometimes
they
you have
say
to
it's like
squish
a
it
couple
together.
months. They just like squished it together. Marie Antoinette does not talk about a lot of politics that went involved in that world, and that's just a director's choice, you know. That is to kind of show Marie Antoinette in her own little bubble, in her own little world. But like we're omitting a lot of information and a lot of the reason that people were so angry about what was happening, you know, and when the overspending and that they were like freaking starving in the streets while these royals were off in this palace,
Living
you know,
lux.
living lux, man. Although there was shit being thrown out of the windows, and there was cat shit everywhere, and it
Yeah,
smelled
you always
like
hear about people just shitting in the corridors.
pissing in the corridors, and
Yeah.
apparently it was not the best place to be for smells.
But also, the music was not historically accurate.
I loved it though. I loved
Yeah.
it. I loved it.
Mozart or nothing. That's what I
Marie
said.
Antoinette's just a great movie. We love it. We love it. Kirsten Dunst has an American accent playing Marie Antoinette. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? We don't need it. The Favorite. Did you ever watch The Favorite? I know I watched it with my mom and my sister. We went to the Alamo Draft House to watch it.
Babe, I watched it with you, and then you said, I'm going to watch it with them.
Maybe that's the order I went in. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, costuming wasn't that accurate. I was a little let down when I looked it up right after the movie, and I found out there were romantic relationships between Queen Anne and Abigail and Sarah. It's been very, very debated, right? Like, there's not really any evidence that went on, except for like some mentions of like rumors in letters, and I think Sarah circulated a poem or something like that, some sort of like piece of writing around the palace, and like spread a rumor that Queen Anne and Abigail were having like a lesbian affair, right? That was something she spread. Prince George was also still alive during that time. It's not in the movie. These events, Prince George was alive during Queen Anne's husband, and they didn't show any of that. You know, they didn't show him because they were like, It was
I
a
still
movie.
really like The Favorite.
It was a really good movie, but
Yeah.
it's a movie that like had a very clear message they were trying to get through, right? And so they took liberties. They like removed him. They took liberties with the affairs that were in the love triangle that was going on. They had like messages that they wanted to get across, right?
Well, let's also acknowledge the difficulty it is to take a historical event and put it in within like 2 hours,
Yeah.
right? So like you have to take some liberties in order to like get to the meat.
Well, of course, yeah, that
what's
and
happening.
like whatever movie's being made and at whatever time, they have a modern lens on it. So like during the time Braveheart was made, they had a modern lens on Braveheart. They were saying very specific things about that time, right? Or like they were the lens was of the time, right? So The Favorite, the lens was of the time. It was through that lens of that year. And that's just how these things are made. That's how these historical movies are made, just through the lens that they're made at the time, you know?
And some are made with an agenda. like
I
The
love
Last
docs.
Samurai, 2003 with Tom Cruise.
I've never seen that. Was
You
it
have not
Tom
seen
Cruise?
It was Tom Cruise. Yeah.
I thought that was
And-
I thought that was Matt Damon.
No, it's Tom Cruise. But
What was Matt Damon in? He was in something like
another
that.
movie.
I'm looking it up.
But it was with Tom Cruise, and it was they hired an American advisor that became the Last Samurai, but that's not true because they actually hired advisors from France. And
Oh, I remember this. I have seen this actually.
It wasn't a Civil War veteran, and he was more of an advisor. He wasn't a master samurai, and yeah, it just
I hardly remember this one though, so I wouldn't. You like this one?
no, I don't.
Oh,
actually.
I thought we were adding just movies that we enjoyed.
No, I think even in 2003 it was a bad taste, honestly, to do it. I think even 2003 that was bad.
That's fair. We have
and then you have The Patriot, Mel Gibson again.
Mel Gibson did a lot of these.
Yeah, he was all about playing the Patriot in whatever historical
Do you know how accurate the
area he was in.
Passion of the Christ was? I don't remember. I've only ever seen it once. I went and saw it. Like I was taken. I was
Babe.
against my will to see that in the theater. It was the most traumatizing movie I'd ever seen as a child.
I'll tell you, I've never been
Worse than
there
any
when Jesus
horror movie.
Christ was there either, so I cannot tell you the historical accuracy of that.
I don't know it. I don't know it either. An upcoming movie, Blonde, has been getting a lot of buzz also because of it's Blonde is a movie about Marilyn Monroe, but based on the Joyce Carol Oates novel about Marilyn Monroe. So it is a fictitious account of like it's just taking like historical events and just creating a whole story out of it. That didn't really happen, right?
I think that when you really try to take a character and like funnel them into like one movie, you miss out on a lot of stuff. So like one movie that I thought that was done really well with Renee Zellweger was Judy.
Oh, I thought Judy was phenomenal, but also
Because they just took a very small snippet of Judy Garland's life.
I love
and
when
said, let's
movies
make a
do
movie
that.
about this.
I wish more actresses and actors would sign on to do like multiple movies like that, to do multiple periods of their life, because Judy was a phenomenal movie. Again, historically inaccurate movie.
But still probably more accurate because
just-
they just took a dedicated
Well,
time.
here on these lists,
you know?
we have like varying degrees of like accuracy, right? Like
Well,
not
also,
everything is
you
gonna
have
be.
to take some liberties
Yeah.
because you weren't there.
Yeah,
Nobody
of
knows
course.
what people said.
Nobody knows
You know?
that Judy. She didn't, by the
They
way.
just know-
She didn't run off with a couple of gays and they cooked her eggs on the stove. But
Baby,
you know, they
did.
We
I'm
love
sorry.
to believe it.
In my
It was
head, they
us.
did.
It was
They
us.
had eggs. It was good.
But like, yeah, Blonde is one that's coming up this year. It's going to be on Netflix, and people are like really upset about it because like Joyce Carol Oates invented a rape scene, a pretty graphic rape scene that they have filmed, apparently, just from things I've read, that they have filmed and put in there that does not like. There's no basis for it. And people are pretty angry about it, and understandably so. And
It's Ana de Armas, right?
Anna de Armas, and it's just got, you know, it's not, it's being, you know what I found weird about it is it's being marketed as something that is truth rather than, or at least they're omitting that it's like a fiction book. It's a fiction novel.
Well, we don't know. Maybe when we
It's
sit down
just
and watch it,
showing
they'll put
Marilyn
something in front.
Monroe and like, I mean, again,
They probably just say based on Blonde, the novel by Joyce
well, of
Carol
course,
Oates.
that's what they're doing.
That's probably what
it's
they
a
say.
mission.
Yeah.
It's a mission. And it's still like something that, you know, if you know about it, it might not sit too well with you.
I think you have that book,
but I
too.
think people are still going to, and I enjoy the book, which is really bad, but I do enjoy the book, and I think I am going to be interested in watching this movie. It does like make me stir a little bit in my seat, just the kind of idea of like adding a rape scene when we don't know if, you know, she was raped in that way, you know, like it's kind of weird to like add that.
Well, they also added a RAPE scene to The Woman King. And we don't know if that happened.
But I mean, like that was that's a little bit more like removed in history. So it like again,
but does that still make it okay?
it doesn't. You know what? It does
So-
not. It does not.
Like where's the line here?
Yeah. What else? I guess we're running to the end of our list, but like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh,
Very
well, yeah,
historically
but like
inaccurate.
it was
extremely
it was
historically inaccurate.
purposely historically
Hand me the
inaccurate.
chapstick. Why? Why?
Because he wanted to tell a different story.
I was pretty angry, but then when after we left the theater, I was glad I didn't have to sit through a Sharon Tate like death scene. You know, 'cause she died pretty horribly. But that was even like more recent than Marilyn Monroe. You know, like that was super recent that happened. You know, and still, like we know the facts about it, but still historically inaccurate. Like historical. Was it meant to be historical, or just use historical people?
And the question is, why do we say historical instead of historical?
Historical. Herstory.
Herstory.
Herstory. I don't know. We're running to the end here. The point we're trying to make is that sometimes movies are just good. Sometimes movies are just good movies.
Enjoy what you want. Do your own research.
And all of these movies are being made through a modern lens. The Woman King is definitely being made through a modern lens. Take it. Look at it. Look at the messaging in it. Enjoy the movie, even if you don't want to look at the messaging. And just have a good time, right?
It's a really good movie.
But also, I do want to point out that I don't think it's... Some people just don't... It doesn't sit well with them that historical pieces are not historically accurate, right? I think that is also fine. I think we kind of like didn't even touch on that. I do think that's fine. I think sometimes
I'm sorry, they're never gonna be exactly historically accurate. You're taking an essence,
but it is
and you're
okay.
making it into a piece of fiction.
No, I still think it's okay for like there are some history buffs out there who go to see a historical piece and like do get angry that like it's not historically accurate and that can bug them, and that's okay.
Even history is not historically accurate.
I think the majority.
Look at most of the stuff we studied in high school. Like
George Washington's teeth were not made of wood.
People make their own narrative, and I think it's fine to make your own narrative in the movies as long as you're aware of what the narrative is.
Well, I think whether you enjoy whether you have a problem with something being historically inaccurate or not in a piece of like media, like a movie or TV show, is like really up to you. It's just going to be up to the viewer. It's not going to be up to me or you to decide what Joe Schmo cares about. You know, I don't know. It's just like, think about the other movies you like and whether those are historically accurate too, you know? Sometimes you just like a movie, and that's okay. And The Woman King was a very good movie, and I highly suggest everybody going and watching it. And
yeah, I thought the fourth Underworld movie was not historically accurate.
I thought it was very historically accurate.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Vampires they act exactly like that. Mm-hmm. You know, their war with the Lycans, perfect.
Okay.
They nailed that.
Okay. I was just sad that I didn't see Celine. So.
The Vampiro Lycan War, you know, wonderful. I don't know. We're rambling now. I think I'm also a little tipsy from the rosé.
We appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, like, I think the biggest question is, do historically yet accurate movies about history, does that bother you? Or are you okay with just going along for the ride? And again, your answer is not wrong either way, but any racist, misogynistic, any like bigoted comments that I see, I'm getting rid of those because those have no point in the conversation. But if you want to talk about historical inaccuracy or accuracy, the floor is yours. You know, go for it. I think it's a super interesting discussion.
Yeah, if you want to start a discussion, just make sure it moves the conversation forward.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, we're gonna go get dinner, and we're gonna keep the illusion up. We're gonna go get breakfast, guys. And we will see you next time.
Adios.